It's my song! Let's sing it! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Come on! It's gonna be fucking awesome! You know the words! It's gonna be fucking awesome! That's it! Sing! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Yeah!
Howdy, 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 everybody. It's Jesse Blaze Snider, the coolest man alive, and I'm coming at you with a new episode of Coolest Alive. A new episode and an old episode because I'm still dealing with this lispy thing that I've been got going on. I bit my tongue a few weeks ago now, and it's still healing. I got this really sharp tooth that I chipped, and just kind of dealing with difficulty in speaking and singing and everything. It really kind of hurts to talk too much. Still, even after a couple weeks now, and I saw the Masters of the Universe movie. Not last night, 2 nights ago. I saw it early. I saw it on Wednesday, and I've got a lot to say about it. At the same time, I was remembering this early episode of Coolest Alive, or Coolest Geek Alive, before we had the listenership that we had now, and this was one of those episodes that kind of fell through the cracks. And there is not, very many people who have ever heard this. And this is my impassioned conversation about Masters of the Universe and how I think it's like this untapped franchise that really deserves people's time. And it could be something great, but it's never quite been done right and been executed the way that it could be. And just me professing my love about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe for like an hour. And I just like that Rotten Tomatoes episode that I brought back around, I really would love people to hear this and hear this conversation, especially on the heels of the Masters of the Universe movie. So I thought instead of saying everything that I said again, let me just let you rehear the conversation as it was put forth, and let me come back around and at the end of the episode, give you my review for Masters of the Universe. I just listened to the episode freshly, and I actually mentioned in here that we had Four Horsemen Studios who did the color designs for the Masters of the Universe classics and a lot of other He-Man action figures who, like, their color designs are so great that I hired them to do the color designs for one of our comics that's available at blacklightdistrict.studio called King of Kings. And at the time, it wasn't available for free at blacklightdistrict.studio, so I just wanted to mention, go to blacklightdistrict.studio if you want to check out King of Kings and some of the other free comic books and free music that we have there. I love you guys. You can reach out to me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the conversation as it originally was had. I'm going to just leave in my original intro and everything. Check this out. And at the end of the episode, I'm going to come in and I'm going to give you the fucking tea, the crack, in my opinion, on the new Masters of the Universe film, without any major spoilers. All right, guys, I love you. Check this out. You're listening to Coolest Alive, retro throwback episode. Enjoy. Hello, my friends. It's the Coolest Geek Alive here, coming at you hot. Last week, we talked about Godzilla. And Godzilla, I talked a little bit about it being a franchise that you had to, read into. You had to add your own reality to it in some ways, and if you got turned on to Godzilla as a kid, it's easy to, as Godzilla's knocking down those buildings, and you're going, oh my god, the people in those buildings, and you're just extra empathetic to this person got being crushed. These buildings are on fire. You're on fire. Oh my god, So there's a visceral experience that goes on with the Godzilla concept, this giant monster coming in and whatever else. Similarly, there are some basic visceral concepts that come along with Masters of the Universe, the Masters of the Universe franchise, which makes it my favorite untapped franchise of all time. It is the best kept secret on planet Earth as far as I'm concerned. And one of the main bits of it that makes it so cool is just that it is a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. There are a few other properties that I've come along over the years that have this great mixture done right,
well, I mean, Marvel Universe is doing it a little bit, kind of making Thor into, high technology kind of thing. But Rifts, which is a great role-playing game that I used to play all the time, and I plan to play again with some friends soon. I don't have any ongoing games going, but love Rifts. Rifts is another game. It's a post-apocalyptic future where these ley lines have erupted on planet Earth, and now magic is available to people if they want it, but also it's the future, and there's all this high technology, and these aliens there's basically the Earth has become like a dimensional nexus point. So there's just like everything is available on Rift's Earth, which is why it's such a great place to play games, do role-playing games. But that mix of fantasy and science fiction together, it's not there. Like, it doesn't exist anywhere else. Not really, not a lot. And it's so simple, because of the nature of the Masters of the Universe line, which was, and I'm kind of like laying this out because I feel like there are people who know Masters of the Universe, and everybody who knows it's going to, everything I say, they're going to be like, yes. But the people who don't know, it's like, I don't get it, So this is like essentially the origins of the Masters of the Universe. They were considering doing a line of toys for a Conan action figure line, and they had a whole bunch of different designs and stuff that came in. They ended up not doing the Conan line, but they still had a bunch of designs that had been mocked up. They started working on their own line, and some of the designers came in with some stuff that mixed technology in. Because part of the line of these He-Man things was that everybody was going to like be able to do something, have like an action, there are different things that they could do. They could punch or they could karate chop, this was like the Kung Fu grip, but the next level, they wanted each of these toys to be, some point of interest. There's two guys who turn into rocks. Clamp Champ has a little clamping thing, and Fisto's got a big fist, and, Jitsu would karate chop. Now, the names and everything that I'm just saying right now, like, these are the things that I think ultimately has made everybody shy about the brand and shy about taking it seriously, because the names are just so over the top, right down to He-Man. And the big problem with He-Man is that he's the least interesting character in his entire universe, because everybody else has this mixture of, technology and magic, sort of abound, and he's just kind of this like super barbarian. But within the Superman archetype is some really simple and universal things going on that are just recipes for success. Fawcett Comics did it with Captain Marvel, who then became Shazam, as most of you people know him now as Zachary Levi's Shazam. Shazam, the idea that a child would turn into the super being. So instead of Superman being this like above you thing, you could be Superman. And He-Man is an I can be Superman type of concept. Prince Adam, who's, this scrawny little thing, he gets the power of He-Man and beefs up, and he's He-Man and he could be this thing. And, there's a lot of things going on within the He-Man thing that are like old tropes that are kind of annoying. Like, the premise of He-Man, it needs to be moved forward, his secret identity thing. It was just sort of like a tripe that sort of aggravated storylines. And in order to really mature the character and to do things with the character, you got to bring that aspect forward and have him be beyond that as, being He-Man and trying to figure out how to do it. There's a lot of things intellectually as a writer and a producer that I could make an incredible fucking He-Man. Like, oh my God. I've talked about this before. I'm a toy guy. I'm a big toy guy, and He-Man is one of my first loves. And these designs that these early designers for Mattel made for the Masters of the Universe, they are just so evocative. I mean, Beastman, who's one of my favorite simple color designs, the orange with the white around his face and the blue in his eyes to pop off the white and the orange. There are so many amazing color combinations. That's one of the best things about the Masters Universe line was that the colors, they popped. The toys looked so different from one another. And again, the genesis and the nature of the way this franchise took place, on the toy shelf, you want the different characters to look decidedly different from one another, and the color choices would just be incredible. And these are this sculpture. I love sculpture, man. You know, a beautiful sculpture of something that you've never seen before. And in the case of Mattel's Masters of the Universe line, there's been this amazing reinterpretation over time, the same way that you have in comics. As Frank Miller comes in and he's like, I'm going to take all my favorite parts of Batman and I'm going to add some of my own stuff to Batman. You know, as a group of artists, because then new artists would come in and new toys designers, as they're like, all right, well, if we're going to do the Masters of the Universe in 2000s, you know, now that Spawn's been around, you know, and they brought in Four Horsemen Studios, who did a lot of the amazing work on the original lines of Spawn and Total Chaos and Wetworks and all those great lines that came out. That was all Four Horsemen Studios, and a lot of it Eric Treadaway, who I believe is the reincarnation of Da Vinci. I mean, he's just like incredible, one of the most incredible artists. I hired Four Horsemen Studios to do color designs for my King of Kings comic book, because we had so many characters and I wanted them to pop off the page and I wanted them to, you know, be decidedly different from one another, like I'm talking about with these action figure line. You know, that's something that you want, visually speaking. The benefit of a comic book and these toy lines are that these things are thought about from a visual standpoint and from a dynamic standpoint very deeply. It's just all about creating dynamics. Visually is the big one, but even, you know, within comics, it's story dynamics, and, you know, Cyclops against Wolverine, and, you know, this guy doesn't get along with this guy gets along with this guy. You know, those are the things that those relationship dynamics are so major. This guy's the arch nemesis of this guy. This guy used to be friends with this guy, but now they're enemies. You know, these are just all different sorts of archetypes, basic archetypes that exist in life. You know, you've got somebody who used to be your friend, but now he's your enemy. Well, I mean, I don't have anybody right now, and hopefully you don't have anybody like that. But at times in your life, you've had that, you know, where you had a friend and then you guys became enemies for a little while or whatever. I hope you guys, I'm not trying to wish enemies on anybody. Care Bear stare to you all. But you know what I'm saying. The Skeletor to the He-Man. And, you know, that's one of the things, like I said, He-Man is the weakest character in his thing, because he's basically, you know, a Conan ripoff to some degree. He's a Conan mixed with Shazam, mixed with Superman, mixed with Thor, kind of ripoff, but he's got a badass ride, man. He's got a green tiger, and that was just a tiger toy that they had made previously, and they put a saddle on it and colored it green and yellow. I have Battle Cat tattooed on my arm, or on my shoulder, representing my my grandmother protecting me from the other side. The evocative nature of that simple choice. Somebody was like, hey, I put a saddle on this thing that we already had, and then I thought maybe we could put him on the saddle. And now he's not Conan. Now he's He-Man. Which is really like the main difference. And, like, you know, his magic sword, and saying, I have the power. But I mean, this is the simplicity. He-Man is a Superman type character. He's a total altruist, with essentially all the power in the world. You know, I have the power. He's a classic archetype, you know, somebody to look up to. You know, I said I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the gym because I've always wanted to look like Superman. I've always wanted to look like He-Man. I've always wanted to be He-Man. I said after one of my routines today, I finally put down the weights, and I was like really tired, and I was like, I have the power. You know, I was trying to say it at like my weakest moment. I have the power. So, like, this is what I'm saying, though. Like, the basic design visuals of a Beastman and a Skeletor and even a Merman and a Trapjaw, and just all of the characters. There's so many great fucking He-Man characters. It's just sort of absurd. I mean, like, just because they all needed to pop visually and be memorable on their own, and for that reason, there are just like a plethora of visually incredible characters. There's a Filmation version of the Beastman, and there's been other depictions of of Beastman, but the Filmation, like done right, he looks great. He looks gnarly in the Filmation, and the Filmation's really kind of classic. It has this classic Conan kind of type vibe, Frazetta vibe to it, and I think it holds up visually as like a piece of art. I wouldn't say that it was ever top tier anything, though certain episodes of the show are really cool and evocative and neat. And I mean, it's one of those shows, kind of like Godzilla, where there are some bad Godzilla movies, but even you put those on sometimes. A Godzilla movie is like, it's Godzilla. Oh, yay. He-Man's fighting Trapjaw. Fun. And the visuals are so good. You're with it most of the time, I would say. But the follow-up, well, actually, I should say, the follow-up that they did, which was the New Adventures of He-Man, which like totally like missed the point and was just lame as crap, and they were like in space, and the designs are really crappy, and I don't know what happened with New Adventures of He-Man. But in the 2000s, they did a new animated show, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. It didn't set the world on fire, but it's great, and He-Man fans really appreciated it. The designs are incredible. The designs are by Four Horsemen Studios, and characters like Too Bad, who is just like one of my favorites as a kid. I had all these toys as a kid, and but the designs are really strong. They're really, really strong. Evil Lynn, who's the number 2 to Skeletor, she's just got a great classic design for her. And then even something as simple as, the robot He-Man Faker, who's blue or turns blue or however you want to set it up. I mean, like, just the simple evil robot version of the person. There's a lot of simple tropes like that in He-Man, and they're great. They're because of the purity of this He-Man type character and Skeletor. It's just good, evil, and all of the shades of good around He-Man, and all of the shades of evil around Skeletor, and them warring for the planet. And and ultimately they haven't brought it grim enough and had He-Man have to take things back, and that's really where I think it needs to go. It needs to, the story that I told a long time ago with my toys late at night, and I actually pitched Scott Knightlick, who was running the Masters of the Universe brand, but things were out of his hands. When I pitched, I told him, I was like, any of these ideas resonate with you, because he liked a lot of things. I was like, feel free to just steal them, because I would love to see the toys. I want the toys. I'm in it for the toys, Scott. But my basic premise was that at like the height of the most major battle, Superman gets his hands cut off, and the sorceress sends him into the future. And now he comes back in time, and he's into the future, and like things are different. And he's, basically the whole world has been taken over, and He-Man's been gone for as many years as whatever. And somebody fits him with these robot hands, and and he's doing the thing, or maybe one robot hand. I don't remember what it was, but it was something to bring him into the technology of the future that he was in. So that I think maybe it was one hand, and he held the other hand was hold the sword. And he has to like relearn how to fight with his left hand and slowly put the group back together. And Ram Man was dead and brought back to life as like a Frankenstein monster, and he finds them, and but because really the biggest problem with He-Man, besides him being sort of the least interesting part of his universe, which is why getting rid of the freaking secret identity and just like making him have to do be a part of real things, decision making, and have the weight of being the prince and being He-Man and having to take care of this whole world really be on his shoulders. That really matters. But the second thing that's a problem in the Masters of the universe in terms of the storytelling is He-Man's just got too many damn friends. It's one of those things where it's like classic He-Man storytelling. He-Man, now I've got you because I've got this person, and aha, these two people will take you. And then all of a sudden, He-Man's friend shows up and he beats him. And then the Skeletor's like, well, this time I have 12 people and you only have 6. Like, he's got a lot already. And then He-Man, oh man, 6 just wasn't enough, He-Man. And then Moss Man shows up with Zodiac or some fucking thing. And it's like, he's just friends for days. Friends for days in the Masters universe. So really that needs to be corrected for the storytelling to really get to the next level. And you have to really make Prince Adam earn it as He-Man in order to change the whole feel and be able to bring it forward. They have really struggled to adapt this thing, but the 2000X adaptation of the cartoon is fucking awesome. Highly recommend it. I don't know where it's available right now. I didn't look beforehand here, but I'm sure you can find it probably on YouTube or whatever else buried away somewhere. It is worth your time. The visuals are great, and the story's great. And you'll be really bummed out because the third season, I think it's the third season. Was it 2 seasons or 3 seasons? I think it was 3. The third season ends on a cliffhanger that Hordak and the bad guys from the She-Ra cartoon, who for me were just bad guys for He-Man because those bad guy characters were put out as part of the He-Man line. And those are some of my favorite bad guy designs. Hordak has such a great Nosferatu meets Dracula design, and his number 2 Shadow Weaver's really great in her red cloak, and she's just tall and floating off the ground. And Catra is a nice simple negative to She-Ra, as is the other henchmen that were big He-Man toys for me, Leech and Tongue Lasher. Tongue Lasher, he had a green tongue that would come out of his mouth. I used to play with that a lot. And Leech, I would bring him into the bathtub with me, and I'd play with him on the bathtub wall and stuff. Be sticking him around. Right. He had suction cups on him. And Mantena, whose eyes would stretch up out of his head. And then there was Grizzlor, who I would always be getting wet, and then I'd have to dry him. It was just this big hairy brown beast. And the 2000X redesigns of these characters are even better. They look so cool. A lot of these characters were made as these statue action figures. They're action figure size, but they're action figures that don't move. Oh my God. Some of them are so beautiful. I want to pay somebody someday to take them and turn them into functional toys for me. They're so gorgeous. Like I said, I'm a big fanboy for Four Horsemen Studios. Eric Treadaway, shout out to you guys, everybody over there. They're just so talented. And these Four Horsemen sculpts of the Masters of the Universe statues, and sculpts from the action figure line, but the sculpts from the statue line are really nice. And then they went on to work on the Masters of the Universe Classics, where it was just sort of a re-up version of the classic figures, done similarly, but just more modern and better. And oh my God, there's so many great freaking toys there, and so many great things that were on the cutting room floor, that again, some great design from the friggin' 80s that they dusted off and rolled out in some spectacular fashion. Some great stuff that people just concocted for these lines. I remember there's a great dragon, I forget what his name is, but that was added into the line that the Four Horsemen Studios sculpted, and it's just so fucking cool. So damn cool. And Scareglow and just there's so many great characters and great character designs. Scareglow, that makes me think of, so then now recently they did a new series. I'm told that the one that I didn't watch, which is the one that's meant more for kids, that one's great. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I should really watch it this weekend with my kids, see if they like it, because I would love to watch it. I have watched Revelations. I don't know if I finished the second season or whatever. I'd say Revelations is a mixed bag. Again, I don't really think narratively anybody's capitalizing on what's really there to be capitalized with this franchise. I think everybody's kind of missing the point majorly in so many ways. It's about the possibilities. The possibilities of Beast Man is that there are Beast Men. The possibilities of Merman is that there are mermen. The possibilities of the bee people and the flying people and all of the different races that exist on Eternia. Like that place is just ready for war and factioning and so many different things. Like there's just so many possibilities on what will happen there. And the original story that they tried to erase and then they kind of brought it back on the Revelation series, but I really, and actually apparently this isn't the original story, but this was the one that I think stuck with the fandom and stuck with me, was that Skeletor is King Randor's brother. And but because he was blue, he was ostracized, and that like the people who were blue were considered like bad or evil or something like that, and he was put out to pasture kind of thing. And now he's on the outside exploring dark arcane magic to, get revenge on his brother. And like, was he evil the whole time, or did this ostracization of him make him evil? Like, these are amazing things to explore and discover, and that's a very good sympathetic bad guy who ultimately does has a reasonable bone to pick with the kingdom as it is, but will the kingdom be better because of what he does or anything like that? Yeah, man, I would love to tell some of these stories that I have in my head, and there's just like there's so many. There's groups in He-Man. There's He-Man and his guys, and then there's Skeletor and his guys, and then there's Hordak and his guys, and then there's King Hiss and his guys. And that needs to continue because the world is so big and there's so many people to break in. And, the one thing that I always saw from the Filmation series, and it was just like so dialed in, it would just be like Skeletor would be kind of dicks to his henchmen, and they'd be like, "One of these days, Skeletor, I'm going to screw you good." They'd just be like, "Screw this guy. He doesn't treat us good, but like he's powerful," kind of thing. And that is magic. That needs to continue. That's the fractioning of Skeletor's crew, them ousting him and it being taken over by Faker and Evil Lyn, which was what I did in my toy thing. I had Evil Lyn was like, Faker's got fucking He-Man's powers. Like, I'm going to romance this robot. And I'm going to toss Skeletor on his ass. And then more disenfranchisement, as the Beast Men leave, and then Beast Man forms the Beast Men. There's just like, you can Game of Thrones the shit out of Eternia, and oh man, it would be glorious. Just all of these great monsters and alien species, and it's all right there. It's all lined up. It's so fucking ready and good and glorious. And nobody's really done it justice yet. Like I said, the 2000 series is good, but even that, I would say narratively, like, really where it needs to go to hit the mainstream, hit everybody in the feels, and make people care and make people go, holy shit, I did not know fucking He-Man could make me give a shit. Like, there's a way, and some of the things that I'm talking about here are how you would do it. So yeah, Scareglow design in the recent the Revelation series is great. I've got pulled up a list of characters here, so I can talk about some things. Also, Skeletor on Panther, the purple panther. I was always a big fan of Black Panthers, and I always thought that was so cool. Characters like Spikor and Stinkor. Stinkor actually smelled. And his redesigns is great. There's just like such fond memories of Stinkor. What a simple idea. And like, these are like the type of characters that you wouldn't necessarily write in a thing unless you're really thinking abstract and you're being like cool. But like, in terms of as you're differentiating one action figure to the other action figure in simplicity, like, there it is. Like, there's a reason for it all, and and coming up with ways to make that work and make that matter and stuff. And really, that too, like, I think Masters Universe is such a fun bit because everybody's got a bit, and coming up with new ways to make all of their bits matter and not feel like a bit is the thing. And if you do that elegantly, you can really just like do a great job for forever. All the heavy lifting's been done here. Triclops is another great design, the guy with the 3 eyes. I love on He-Man's team, you got Manny Faces. That was a favorite toy of mine, would be flipping his heads, his monster face, his robot face, and his regular face. The Twistoids, who would spin around. Whiplash, who's like a big alligator dude, or Webstor, who's this like dark blue, purple, or spider dude. He's cool. I mean, just so many. I mean, and they made more. They've had more characters like through the classics line, whatever, that are good. The Odrago Man is that fire-breathing dragon, and characters that they've made since, like the anti-He-Man, who's just black and red. He's very cool, very stark looking, but just the visuals for these characters are just off the wall. I mean, so good. And then even there's tons of bad guys like Entrapta and stuff on the Horde side of things, like from that were made as dolls, but now have been made as classic characters, and I love them. I'll take any bad guys. In my, what I did so one of the factions that I did was I had Shadow Weaver had left Hordak, and she had her own faction because she had basically mind controlled all of She-Ra's friends. And she had all of the She-Ra crew, all the princesses of power, like Natasha and whoever else, under a spell. And they all had, I painted all their eyes yellow. Or actually, I should say my best friend Aaron Sparrow painted all their eyes yellow. Thank you, Aaron. And he also painted up that Ram Man, Frankenstein style, for me. It was so dope. I lost it in the fire. I'm so sad about that. And they were just like her zombie slaves. So like she would show up and her faction were all these mind controlled bitches who were in their bright and shiny costumes and like kicking ass and being nasty bitches. The recent show, I mean, the idea of sidelining He-Man is not the worst idea if it's going to grow He-Man. The way they did it and the way they rolled it out and certain things, it's like because it came out, it got leaked, and then they denied that it was happening, and they should have just said, yeah, but like it's to grow the character and like for him to come back. But then what they did with Teela was they just kind of like made her just a bit too butch. Like she's just was always like that tomboy who He-Man had, they'd been, that's like a Mary Jane, Peter Parker kind of relationship for the audience. And they, put in that friend, the black chick Astra, which like, I don't know what that bitch is doing there. I mean, like if you told me, hey, we need another minority and we need another girl, like, all right, cool. And I'd come up with somebody for you, and it would be of the vein of the Masters of the Universe characters in some way. And I don't know if we'd call her Cybladia, and do something like that with her. But, you make a character who's interesting, who has like a thing, and that character doesn't have a thing. So like, what was the point of that? Like, you introduced a character who's not going to stick with the fandom in any way, shape, or form because she's just some asshole? Like that's a disservice to the minority that you're adding to the thing, and it's a disservice to the female that you're adding to the thing. If you're going to add a female to add more representation, well, do a fucking good job on it, and make her somebody that everybody would want to own. Make her an action figure people would want to buy. You didn't do that with Astra at all. I think that's her name, Astra. So that was some big problems. The way they rolled all that stuff out was big problems. And, still dealing with secret identity bullshit and other stuff. It was cool to see the sorceress's like thing get moved forward or whatever. And, I'm fine with it because for me, I'm like, cool, I know how to fucking fix this property, and they still haven't done anything to fuck it up that like wouldn't seem thematically whatever. I'll just bring them into the future. Started at the final battle. And then, ba-boom, lost a hand, sent it to the future. Get my sword if you can. Something like that. He-Man, da-da-da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, He-Man. One of my favorite stories of my life was working in construction for my ex-father-in-law's construction company. And he used to work with mi amigos, who, a big group of different people, but we'd be working together all the time, and I'm always singing songs to myself and shit. And I was working one day and I'm going He-Man, and Gabriel looks up at me and he like pushes me in the shoulder and he goes, He-Man, man, which was a reference to, it's like He-Man, man. Like, there was like an echo on the show, on the show sometimes when they would say it, and he was like, I know He-Man, yeah. So like it was just really nice bonding over He-Man. Like I said, there's some real just universal, simple shit going on in the Masters of the Universe franchise that are just like so lovely. So what else should I talk about here with when it comes to He-Man and Masters of the Universe? Well, they've made some comic books and they made a movie. Some of the comic books have been great. Some of them have been I haven't read plenty of them actually because my buddy Tim Seeley has been doing like a bunch of He-Man stuff for a little while, and normally I would be reading it just to support a friend, but I just haven't been. I've been kind of out of things, so like I've been, when I do read, and now I've been reading a lot more now. But when I have been reading, it's been like, oh well, I really want to read that. I really want to read that. I really want to read that. So I've been picking other things over it, especially because in general, I don't find that really much of anyone has cracked the He-Man code. I think 2000X is the closest we've got. I think there's so much more juice to squeeze out of that baby. But there are some good things. I forget the fucking company that was doing the books for a little while in the, I guess maybe early 2000s, around that time. Yeah, mid 2000s. But they had done a great job with the property. And if you can find any of those old books, they did a lot of like single issues on individual characters. Like I remember there was a Beast Man individual issue that was really fun. That stuff was great. And the artists that they got, especially the artists on the covers, but a lot of the interiors are really great too. Those things were really, really good. And the classic comic books, the ones that came with the ones that came with the toys, they're neat. They run a range. There's some amazing talent that participated in working on some of those things. And I may be crossing some wires, but Bruce Timm and Paul Dini separately were both involved in He-Man. I think maybe Paul Dini was involved with the cartoon, the Filmation cartoon, and Bruce Timm involved in some of the early comics. Pretty sure that's right. But there was a lot of talent, and so much of the talent though was talent who was building on inspiration, very clear inspiration from the work of Frank Frazetta and similar artists of the time, who were depicting various barbarians and warriors and stuff, and they took that barbarian aesthetic and then they added a lot of technology and a lot of like super magic kind of shit, and that's the Masters of the Universe. You got just like all these archetypes, all these people representing different races and different tribes and different kingdoms. It's very cool. I mean, really, like the shit's so fucking cool. And as Hordak being this above ancillary to Skeletor, who's running the whole empire, from far away, and Skeletor is like his minions, to take over the earth kind of thing, and like him, being an even bigger bad guy with more power, and there's a setup for like a Horde Prime above him. A lot of it kind of takes some cues from Star Wars, like when you get into like the She-Ra stuff and whatnot. But that stuff just goes to make Eternia and She-Ra and the mythology of the Hordak so great. Like, because She-Ra, like Masters of the Universe, He-Man, the Filmation, and I mean all of them really that play on the basis of Prince Adam getting these powers, whatever. It's like like I said, he's got a lot of friends, he's got all the power in the world, he always wins. She-Ra, on the other hand, she was kidnapped and raised by the bad guys, and now she's an escaped runaway from the establishment and is fighting a revolution against the Horde, who is holding the keeping the people at bay. Like that's some real shit that She-Ra's up to. It's crazy. And honestly, like that's so cool that exists, because that exists in this world, and like that realism of these types of things. Like, yeah, the reason why I love Black Panther so much is because he's a king. He's a king, and it means something. He's got a responsibility to his constituents. Additionally, he has a responsibility as a superhero to like go and save the world. But at the end of the day, he's a king. And same thing with He-Man. He's gonna go, he's gonna do these things, whatever. But like, he's also a king. And he's got to answer these. Well, He-Man's not the king. His dad's the king. But like, he's in that similar position. He has to please his father and please his mother on behalf of the kingdom. All these things. So the drama's there. Like, it's just so built in. And people like me, who are Masters of the Universe fans, who have been playing with these toys, dude, we just like, oh my. We've seen this world in our minds for years and years. It's right there. It's fucking beautiful. And just please do it with practical effects. Can you imagine practical effects? Masters of the Universe. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, honestly, like I think a lot of mainstream stuff, there's like a lot of mainstream things that because I've gone independent, and there's a lot of mainstream things that I wouldn't necessarily like move an inch for. But if they were like, yo, dude, help us fix and do Masters of the Universe right, like, can I please? Oh my God. Ugh. So good. Just think about all the monsters. Like, you got to go on like after the show and like go like just do a search of just Four Horsemen, MOTU, Masters of the Universe figures, and just like take a look at like just all the different toys that they made, the different sculpts, and then look at the 2000X toys, which are so cool. Like the tongue lasher, I keep thinking of in my head. He's the guy who had the tongue lasher thing, and he's almost got like a frog head with the tongue lasher thing and purple. But in the one that they did for the 2000X statues, his head is like the freaking size of half of his torso, and his tongue drips down, his big thick tongue down to the ground. And it's so cool. It's so cool. Just like everything, all the design elements were there that are there have just been amplified in the right ways to make all these characters truly unique. Because some of the limitations to the toys was that they were reusing lots of parts. So over time, some of the characters have been redesigned in like really ways to perfect them, just giving them a few unique features. But I'll talk a little bit about that before I wrap up on this subject, I guess. Well, and I'll talk about the movie too before we go. But the way action figures are traditionally, or I should say, the way action figure lines are traditionally built, are sort of like a piece at a time. You make He-Man, and now you have a humanoid arm, left arm, right arm, torso. You've got his groin, his shorts. You've got his legs, right? And you've got those boots. And if you switch the head and give him an afro, now you got Black He-Man. Now it's Clamp Champ. And all we had to do was change the colors, right? Now we make our Skeletor figure, and he's got like demon feet, and he's got like a kind of demon hands, but he's just blue torso and blue upper arms and blue upper legs, and some of these new demon feet and forearms and calves we made, and a demon head. And now we got Skeletor, and we make a couple accessories that go on top of him to color him differently. Now we make Beastman, and now we have a furry body because Beastman's furry all over. Now we can make other furry characters, and now from Beastman we make the flying dude who's like furry for whatever reason, but they fly. They're weird ones. I forget what that dude's name is. Sky Griffer. I don't know. Flying good guy. He's one of my least favorites. This is how the line goes. So it would open up, the first wave would sort of establish different pieces. Then they would have those pieces, and they would make more and more. And then as they had more and more pieces to work with, more toy options would sort of become available. They'd be like, all right, we'll use these arms. And they did a similar thing when they made the classics, the Masters of the Universe Classics line with Four Horsemen, which is awesome. I mean, I really appreciate that process. And, Four Horsemen's doing it right now with their awesome Mythic Legions line. My company, years ago, we did the Mythic Legions first art book, which we did a comic book with Greg Weisman, which was super cool. And the Mythic Legions line is the same thing. They make the characters that they make. Now they have those pieces. Now those pieces pieces are applied to the next line, they add a couple more pieces. They add a few more pieces. They add a few more pieces. And it just slowly grows. And now when you see, all the pieces that they have in this line that are available for them to pull from when they need it, it's incredible. It really is wonderful to see, especially because, they're an independent company doing it independently. So it's really cool how that develops. And it gives a lot of symmetry and not balance, but just sort of like matchiness to the line. When you see, there's just a little bit of familiarity between all these things because they are sharing a lot of pieces, which is cool. It keeps them all, sort of in the same world, same dimension, reusing all those pieces in the way that they do. So it's very interesting how that comes about. And I think that the nature of the design of the Masters of the Universe toys and whatnot, and granted, they can be embellished and whatnot, but not losing that. These designs come from, there's so many interesting pieces of intellect that went into getting these designs to these even better places like they are now. I mean, if you go online and look up some like realistic depictions of Masters of the Universe characters, there are some paintings of these motherfuckers that look incredible. I mean, incredible. They're so like, it's because it's so unreal. Seeing it real makes it that much better. Just seeing it, it's so cool. And I wish they would do this correctly. I can't tell you how disappointed I was in the 80s when I saw the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe movie. I love Dolph Lundgren, but he can't speak. And he was not the right choice for He-Man. And the worst part of the whole thing was they took He-Man out of Eternia. Eternia is where we want to go. Eternia were where the kids were going. We didn't want to bring He-Man into our world. We wanted to go to Eternia, this place where magic and technology existed, where all of these interesting different races lived together in relative harmony, it seemed. And He-Man was constantly fighting against the forces of the evil Skeletor, who was trying to get revenge on his brother Randor and take control of the planet on behalf of the Horde. It's such a simple premise and like archetype and everything, but it works so well and it feels so good. Just picture He-Man riding a giant green, yellow striped tiger. Imagine a real big, saber-tooth looking tiger with green stripes. With yellow stripes and green fur. And he's on a red saddle. And this guy is so invulnerable. There are people with guns and laser things all around, and he's got his shirt off, wearing an H on his chest, and holding a sword above his head, resonating with power, screaming, "I have the power!" Running into a horde of evil monster men. Beastman and Skeletor and Merman and Too Bad and Stinkor and Clawful and Whiplash and Triclops and Faker and all these fucking awesome, great, amazingly designed characters. When they adapt this stuff, and they will try again, if they get the visuals right for a live action, and if they set it in Eternia, it will be successful. If they can go beyond that and do the type of things that I think really need to be done to just take the brand to the next level so that people can see the depth that is already there. But again, it's like Godzilla, you got to be the kid looking at it from the right angle going, "Oh, this is so interesting. What's his story? What's that story? What's it like on Eternia?" Eternia is a place you want to go to. And I mean, really, like that's one of the cool things about the old Filmation cartoon too, of like that aspect of it being in Eternia and seeing some of these cells and these people and the streets of Eternia and the regular people in Eternia, and in these alien worlds too. Like it feels, I don't know. I want to say it feels right. It feels like that's the world I should be living in. Me and the aliens. Where are all my alien brothers? I don't know if that's it, but it just feels so immersive and so real. Just instead of a planet full of different types of people, it's a planet full of majorly different types of people, different types of races, and some of them are cool and some of them are not so cool, and some of them like to be kept to themselves, and some of them are trying to take over the planet, and some of them are fighting to save the planet. It's just, it's as Justice League as you fucking get, but in a great setting that lends itself to really grounded storytelling, sword and sorcery type of shit, and also really highfalutin and interesting science fiction type of storytelling. It's all there for you. It's all there for anybody good who can possibly write this stuff. And the visuals are just spectacular, man. Like I said, I still think that He-Man needs he needs a robot hand, big robot fist. I think would be the thing. You give him a big like oversized robot fist, and then he has a sword and a robot fist, and then I think he becomes the He-Man that we all want. We just need to bring him into the thing or whatever. And he just needs to be like, you need to see him all grizzled and like with a freaking cloak of skin, animal skin around his back, and traveling town to town by himself or with his Frankenstein-like Ram Man companion because he can't find his friends and he's scarred up from past battles and he's been doing this a long time and he's lost a lot of friends because Skeletor just won't stop. Like, that's the He-Man. He's going to overcome it. And like, it's like you really got to take him full Conan place, but then also bring some of that technology into him, I think is an important thing. Or you can give him a laser eye too. That's all right too. But I think the hand is a cool one because then it gets to be a little like Fisto. And Fisto's just a super simple concept that just is fun. Who doesn't like Fisto? Fisto punch. I don't know if he says that, but that's probably what I said when I did the thing. Fisto punch. So yeah, the Masters of the Universe movie, it just bombed on so many levels. Granted, there's some like practical effects and some monsters that are fun, and the dude who played Skeletor, he really went out of his way to do a good job. And so there's some things to like about it. And they made some toys of some of the movie things more recently, and that's kind of grown a few of the designs and things on me. But in general, I was just not fond of it. Blade and the guy who's like the replacement for Beastman, I forget his name, and the main monsters, the thing, they lack color. They pulled all the color out of the fucking thing. The property, oh my God. The property known for its color, and they were like, let's take all those colors away. No, that was stupid. Stupid. If you make another live action thing, don't take away the colors. The colors is like a fucking strength that Masters of the Universe has. One of the weaknesses of Dune, the Dune franchise, is it just looks like sand. Everything's fucking black and gray and sand. Sand colored. It's brown. It's like browns. Yeah, it gets boring, like for me, like my office, like I'm just surrounded by posters and colorful things. Art therapy, color therapy. And like, Avatar, people loving Avatar, everybody's going to see Avatar. They're going to see Avatar because it's a beautiful spectacle of color. Masters of the Universe, beautiful spectre of color. Eternia, beautiful spectre of color. Show that shit off. Like, that's it, man. That is what will make a beautiful world. It's like, and if you're gonna go the freaking secret identity thing and all this shit, man, start right from the beginning. Cast somebody young who can grow into being Prince Adam or whatever, and and start with Man-at-Arms and Tila and just, have him meet a friend. And then he's got, 4 or 5 people at the end as he goes to fight Skeletor and a few of Skeletor's minions. And then, grow the branches of his army with the next movie and introduce more characters and do it like that and do it right. And just don't, they're not goofs. They're real characters. Treat them right. Make them matter. Make their relationships matter. I'm telling you, Masters of the Universe is ready for prime time. It is the coolest fucking franchise there is. It just hasn't been tapped for its full potential.
Well, here I am back in the modern day, having listened to the whole episode. My assessment of Masters of the Universe, I stand by every word except for a couple details I got wrong. I think I called He-Man Superman once, and I said Tongue Lasher was a member of the Horde. Technically speaking, he's a member of the I want to say Serpent Society. That's not the right word. What do you call the snake people? The snake men. So I got a couple details wrong, but oh my God, I love Masters of the Universe, and here I am back. I just saw the movie 2 days ago, and what did I think? Well, my immediate assessment was, and I went by myself to see it early, but I happened to be sitting in front of a row of Masters of the Universe fans that I bonded with before we checked this out. And this is how I was reminded of this episode, because the dude asked me to send me a link to to my podcast. He was like, "Oh, I'd love to listen to your podcast." And so when I was sending him a link, I just went, "Didn't I do a Masters of the Universe episode? I should just send that to him." And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh man!" I'm like, "This is from early on." I'm like, "I wonder if anybody even listened to this." And I saw that it was one of those ones. Again, in the early episodes, there's just tons of episodes that not a lot of people heard. So I was like, "All right, cool. Let's re-release that this week along with my review." And when the movie was over, he turned to me and he went, "So what'd you think?" And my exact words were, "If it could have been 30% less lame, I would consider it one of my new favorite movies." It is wonderful on a lot of levels. There's a lot of things to fucking say about it that are great. But on a number of levels, it's very lame. And so much of the crimes that all the past Masters of the Universe stuff have been guilty of that I talked about leading up to this, they still stand. The producers were cucking themselves, for lack of a better word. They were taking their manhood away. They were taking moments that were weighty and serious and cool, and then undercutting them with these terrible jokes that were not landing and were just ugh. I mean, granted, the row in front of me of geeks who I was watching with, they were largely going along with a lot of the fucking cringe humor that was on display in the film. And just be prepared if you're somebody who loves Masters of the Universe the way I do. Oh my God, there's a lot of cringy jokes that just make you go, "Oh, come on, stop making fun of the thing we love." And that's the big thing. They were just constantly sort of making excuses for the existence of the thing we love. There's a certain amount of people out there who love it, and I would not have been upset, and neither would anybody else, I promise you, if you just made fun of the thing a little bit less. All of the fucking jokes, and there are just so many references to the cartoon that are just unnecessary. My friend Aaron Sparrow saw it last night. He and I are both huge Masters of the Universe fans, and he was okay with Cringer, the talking tiger. I don't think that was necessary. There's a lot of things that were unnecessary. Yeah, they did that in the cartoon. There's no reason to do it in a grounded film version of the Masters of the Universe. There's a lot of stuff that they could have fucking pulled back on. I honestly think that I could probably create a better version of this film through just simply muting a few lines here and there and just editing a couple things before the stupid lines happen. But other than that, it was great. Eternia was awesome. A lot of the basic premises, a lot of the framing of the film were really good. Granted, there were some moments that me and Aaron were talking about where things happened that didn't really seem like why didn't this happen, or how did that happen when Skeletor was standing right there, or how did this happen or that happen, considering this. And there was certainly a lot of missed opportunities in things for writers like Aaron and I Aaron Sparrow has a great independent comic called Kneel Before Doomface. They just did their first Kickstarter a while back, made a lot of money. They got another Kickstarter that's going to be coming. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Kneel Before Doomface. You should look up Aaron Sparrow. Aaron's the shit. He's on Twitter. He's on so many different places. So advertisement for Aaron Sparrow, who's a wonderful guy and somebody who loves Master of the Universe the way I do. I'm sure he'll have some wonderful takes on Twitter and on his social media about Masters of the Universe. It is a glorious franchise. And it was great to see so many of these things done right. Visually, this film nails it. From Fisto and Mechanic and Ram Man, the characters look great. In particular, Skeletor. Oh my goodness. Not only does he look great, but Jared Leto's performance, which is a total... I won't call it a ripoff. I'll call it an homage to Tim Curry and his performance as the Darkness in the Legend film with Tom Cruise. Great movie if you've never seen that. I think directed by either Ridley Scott or one of the Scott brothers, Tony Scott. Oh, God. Legend is so great. And Tim Curry's performance as the devil, essentially, is, oh, wow, so memorable, so incredible. And absolutely... Jared Leto in this film is doing an impression of Tim Curry, but it is a lovely impression. So wonderful. Jared Leto, his character is basically the only character who is able to 100% of the time nail this weird tone that the movie has, where it's kind of jokey and kind of silly in a couple ways, but it's also dark and grounded and rooted. And Skeletor grounds the movie, period. If not for Jared Leto's performance, I don't think it would be a fraction as good as it actually is. But because of Jared Leto's performance, it just grounds everything, makes everything watchable, everything really wonderful, and just feel magical and cool and otherworldly in all the best ways. And visually, oh my God, Skeletor looks incredible. He-Man looks great too. Even though he's, as a character, he's really cucked as well, to use the modern vernacular. He's very emasculated in so many ways. And some of that kind of just plays into the filmation and plays into things that have already kind of been done and presented at various times. But at a certain point, they really needed to dial that back and let him be a powerful, heroic hero. And he is a heroic hero. The morals are set in the movie in a good way, and they do some really good things with that. But getting back to the visuals, Skeletor's villains are excellent. Spikor looks incredible. Trapjaw looks incredible. There's some of a repeat character or two from the film that I'm not a big fan of, the Dolph Lundgren film. Dolph Lundgren makes a little guest appearance in the beginning of the movie, which is fun. There's a lot of fun things that they do that I'm okay with. Just a little bit of fan service, but a lot of when they do the fan service, it just feels like they're talking to us like we're fucking babies. Like, hey, fans, you like this? And you see a little shake this in front of your face. So there's definitely a bunch of that going on, which I'm not thrilled about, and I could have dialed back some of those things or not had those things at all. Like, there's a moment at the end where they have all of the characters looking up at the sky laughing, which is something they used to do on the Filmation cartoon. But I don't need that. As I talked about earlier in this episode, He-Man is one of those properties where you were playing with the toys and you were making it cool. You were grounding it. You were making it make sense. And even though it was over the top and silly in all these ways, it had all these wonderful elements that you wanted to see executed better. And in a lot of ways, the visuals, Eternia, them spending most of their time in Eternia, this is grounded and is much better and makes a lot more sense. But they still go out of their way to sort of make excuses for the existence of the whole thing. And I wish that they had done that less. But I really did love the film, ultimately. Goatman, who's an obscure Skeletor villain, he's in there. He looks great. Beastman's in there. He could have looked a little better, but still looks great, really. Evil Lynn could have looked a little better for me in terms of the color palette and a couple things that were missing from her design that is there in the toys. So there's a couple things that ultimately they're a little bit knocked down from some of the visuals that we've been able to see. But ultimately, the Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull, considering that, like, they really look wonderful, and I totally recommend the film. I'm going to try to take my kids to see it this weekend. And Jared Leto's stuff, there's a bunch of there's 3 after credit scenes that are really wonderful. I won't spoil anything, and and I'm trying not to spoil the movie at all, so I'm not going to talk about it for very much longer. But honestly, there's a lot of love that's gone into this movie. I think they went over the top with trying to, like, sort of, yeah, I'm sure you've seen one of these Marvel movies where, like, they've got some really wonderful, heavy moment and you're, like, feeling it, and then all of a sudden they crack some stupid joke and you're like, really? Like, seriously, are we really doing this? There was just a ton of that, and, like, even things that like Fisto, who was a cool character and badass, like, where it just made him a little bit of a joke. Not even though his performance was fine, just him cracking too many jokes inadvertently that ultimately took away the power and the majesty that were inherent in the character prior to him opening his mouth and saying all this shit. There was just a lot of that where you're like, oh God, if you could have just cut it like 10 seconds earlier, it would have been so much better. So yeah, my feelings about He-Man still stand from earlier in the episode. I still await the day that we get the fucking He-Man that we deserve, that we get a Masters of the Universe film that feels more like the Lord of the Rings. And some of you might go, oh, Jesse, it's not as heavy and weighted as Lord. It could be. It absolutely could be. And this movie proves that it could be on a lot of levels while still playing the game of just sort of like doing things a little too goofy. But honestly, Jared Leto, he saves the film for me. The bad guys look great, and Skeletor in particular, and his delivery of even the most cringy kind of lines is awesome. Excellent. Wonderful. The laughing, like it really manages to include a lot of the things about Skeletor that we love most over time, because they're just so memorable and silly. And they're in there, but they're not exactly silly. It just makes him that much darker a character. And really, kudos to you, Jared Leto. Yeah, I forgive you for any past trespasses. You killed it here. You really just did a wonderful job, and you brought a balance to the Force as far as Skeletor is concerned. I hope that they lean more into your performance and what was great about what you did here in the follow-up film. Obviously, they're looking at doing some more. There's some great possibilities. Again, I'm not going to spoil where some of these things lead, but it was all great. And if they could just be a little bit less with the goofiness in the follow-up film, I'm gonna have a baby in the theater, and it will be one of my favorite films of all time. This could have been one of my favorite films of all time, because it was scratching that itch, that childhood itch of these wonderful visuals. The costumes were really spot on. The performances were grounded and then mixed with like some stupidity that would kind of unground them. But largely, it all plays. And the lady who plays Tila, she's really great and beautiful girl. Kind of reminds me of my girlfriend Julie. Shout out to Julie. Beautiful redhead, and she just was really, again, grounding the film with a really solid performance that you believed. Idris Elba kind of went back and forth with being given too many of those goofy lines that kind of take you out of the thing. But again, there's just enough with the villains and the visuals. Eternia looks amazing. The vehicles are great. I mean, it really leans into the toy lines and the fact that there's toys for this stuff. And I think hopefully there'll be a whole new generation of kids who are into these toys and imagining what this universe could be. Because I believe that a lot of us come from ancient civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria and Tartaria. And I believe those civilizations had technology and magic. I believe they were living in worlds that seemed like, felt like, looked like Eternia. And I think that we all want to go back to those days where Eternia was real. And I think that this movie may indeed spark that feeling of, I come from this place that I had as a child, from all the kids watching it. So I'm going to take my kids. I hope you'll take your kids, or I hope you're a younger person who did not get to experience Masters of the Universe as a kid, and you wanted to hear about it from somebody who fucking gave a shit like me, and you listened to this episode, and now you're all fired up to go check it out. Or you're fired up already because you did check it out, and then you went to seek this out to get more information, and now you know about all these different things. things that I've been turning you on to. One of the coolest things about Masters of the Universe, which I did speak about, is just how amazing the collectibles is. The collectibles up the yin-yang, and there's been even more great collectibles that have come out. Mondo has been making these amazing figures, like very expensive, but I mean just great stuff, and statues. I was saying to one of the Masters of the Universe nerds that I met at the theater that there's a Beastman statue from his Filmation days that I've been wanting to get for forever. It's like 1.5 feet tall or 2 feet tall. It's fucking awesome. And I will be getting my hands on that Beastman statue. Oh, yes, it will be mine, as Wayne Campbell once said. Anyway, I am psyched. I can't wait to see it again, especially now that, like, my expectations have been measured. Like, you know, there were great things about it. I'd love to see it again so I can experience and celebrate those great things. And hopefully I like it even better the second time. Hopefully my kids like it. I'm hoping that they will. And, you know, I won't be devastated if they don't. But I'd really love to share it with them. And I'm hoping that this is enough to get them into the franchise. There are some good jokes, and there are some things that really do land very well. But like I said, there are a bunch that just, too much for me. However, the guys in front of me, they were laughing and chuckling the whole time, and they were along for the ride, even more so than I was. So I'm hoping that it really does land for a lot of other people, even more than it did land for me. But ultimately, it did land for me. I'll probably give it like a 7 or 7.5 or something like that, just on the strength of the visuals and the basic premise and the stuff that's on display within it. And really, again, Jared Leto's performance as Skeletor, bringing it home. And there's a lady, I think her name's Brie, maybe not Brie Larson, something. The lady who plays Evelyn, she's really solid as well. I didn't do like a lot of research before doing this. I was just doing like a off the cuff. This is my thing. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about it. My tongue is starting to try to drive me a little nuts, and I'm sorry for the lispy thing if you're hearing any of that on the microphone. I've been trying to speak very clearly, but hopefully my tongue will be feeling better in a little bit, and I won't have to go back to any episodes or any of this shit anymore, and I can bring some new conversation your way. But this conversation that I already had is so pertinent for this moment, and it just applies absolutely to my review of Masters of the Universe, the new film. But I ultimately, I loved it. I was very, very happy, and just on so many levels, I was very happy. I felt like this film was a gift to me from God, even though it had its problems. But I love you guys so much. If you're not listening to my Esoteric Wisdom Conspiracy show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, generally speaking, I do it every Monday now, even though I haven't done a new episode in just a couple weeks, but I'm about to come back with a new episode this coming Monday. I got my friend Azimuth coming on the show, and we're talking about health and medicine, like the real truth about health and medicine, real truth about cancer. My friend Az is helping people cure their cancer through better health, better understanding about what this stuff is. The medical industry has no interest in solving this problem, really. No interest at all. They are not gonna do it, okay? But there are people like me who, yes, we know better than fucking doctors. Unfortunately, the doctors, their information is being obscured from them on purpose. The industries that control this shit, they don't want the doctors to know what's really going on. So they're very purposefully obscuring certain pieces of information so that most of the doctors never find out. Plenty of doctors do, but then they get ostracized by the industry, and they're called kooks by the industry. Oh, those guys are kooks. Those guys are... Blah, blah. And it's these doctors who people like Azimuth and I have been learning from and fucking growing our minds to understand better what real health is and how to take care of people, how to advise people when they get cancer and stuff, because we're tired of seeing people slowly whittle away from chemotherapy and expensive treatments that don't do shit. Maybe it cured them once, and then it cures them a second time, and then the third time they die from other things because their immune system has been lowered so badly by the drug regimen and the radiation that they've had to go through. So if you're dealing with anything like that, and you want some real fucking truth from some people who are intelligent geniuses who've been reading books our entire lives so that we can be useful in this world, you don't have to have a fucking doctorate in order to be an intelligent person who's capable of understanding fucking statistics and facts and so much other shit. It's it's really just boggles my mind when people are shouted down off the internet because they're saying something that goes against the corporate media establishment. Well, this is what the people who own all the medicine and own all the colleges and own the whole medical industry are saying. Well, of course they're saying that. They have a fucking dog in the race to make money, and they don't want to lose the fact that you don't know shit and you're just listening to whatever they say. Come listen to some people who don't give a fuck about any of this hierarchy and have gone out of our way to learn some stuff so that we can teach some other people. It's everything they don't want you to know, generally every Monday. And this whole month, I'm going to be back probably with Az on, just kind of talking about a lot of things in relation to so much of the things that Az has studied and has become an expert on in the first place. And it's really cool because his company, Sun, S-U-N, they produce... They grow and make the plants and the medicines that are necessary for really getting our health together. These are the types of things like Shilajit and other things that you might have heard of on like health oriented podcasts or TikToks or whatever. But it's very hard to know if you're getting stuff that is really pure and really like good and grown the right way. Az is growing most of this shit himself, and I've never been so proud to have a sponsor and to offer things to people. Like, and this isn't really about the sponsorship. You know, Az offered this to me because he and I have become like best friends through my friend Digger Mesh. And Az has this amazing community-oriented thing where, you know, if I'm a sponsor, I become like a wholesaler, and so I'm going to make a little bit of money off the products. He's going to make a little bit of money, and you guys are going to save a lot of money on the products. Like, I think we're going to be able to offer his stuff at 15% less money, so you'll get a discount for having our code, and you'll make a little bit of money for a really good person, Az and his company, to help them go, and a company that fucking deserves it and is at a clear and present danger. We need companies that we can trust producing medicine that is of the proper quality, and you'll help me, the coolest geek alive. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to our show. Again, I'm JBS at blacklightdistrict.studio. You can check out that King of Kings comic for free over on our website. I don't know if I have anything else to say to you guys right now. I think I might be coming back next week with an episode, a music-oriented special of one of the All Your Favorite Bands Suck variety, as I talk about one of my favorite bands and just give you all the best songs and all the best albums to start with. I love doing the music episodes, and that's why we changed the show's title from Coolest Geek Alive to just Coolest Alive, even though I don't know if that was necessary, because I'm a music geek, right? It's like, does it matter? But yeah, I love you. Thank you for tuning into the show, and I hope you will join us again next Saturday on another fucking awesome episode of The Coolest Alive. Love you guys. Peace out. Care Bear Stare. See you next time.
You've been listening to Coolest Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent entertainment recommendations. Thanks for listening.
It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah! Part. Isn't that heavy? I played that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. Play that be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living the shit. My voice is gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
You'll all see.
The podcast playground.